Yeah, I think that'll be nice. So could we move on to the first slide? Okay, this is something I quickly hacked together because Alex wanted something. So I'm not sure if this is kind of optimum or the best way to do it. But to make the story very short, and to perhaps repeat myself, I came to Ludwig as a user. Uh, I was doing a QA kind of thing for my day job, and I was reading about the great things that people were doing using RAG and other approaches. And of course, you can't read too much about that without getting to the point where they all suggest that you should be really fine tuning your own small LLM rather than going with ChatGPT and the rest. Uh, so I tried that. I had a limited amount of success with using uh, Google's free whatever budget they have for free users. Uh, and But what I discovered is that you get a certain number of hours in the week. It just doesn't mean that because these notebooks are there, you can use them all the time. So essentially, what happened was I had to take long breaks from my primary assignment, and then I started looking around for other things to do. And one of the things that I found interesting was that Alex was looking around for contributors, and that's how I sort of thought, okay, let me take a look at what's under the hood and learn something from this exercise. So eventually, I got to make well. It showed me three patches actually, two code patches and one documentation patch. I have a second slide that gives a little bit more detail. So Alex, could you move? Yeah. Uh, so the first one up there, the first bullet point, that is there was another user that had complained that I'm sorry, moved on to the second one. The first one is about when you save something to to Hugging Face, then the Ludwig configuration itself is not stored there. And from discussions with Alex, what I gathered is that it's probably an advantage to have the configuration sent up as well, so that other people can reproduce our efforts. Uh, so so essentially, what it required me to do was to look at the code that existed, find out where to get that config, and then to transfer the config file as well along with the other files. So a pretty small thing, but probably a nice place to start for somebody who's not at all familiar with how these things work. The second one was really a fix. I'm not sure if it was a fix for the code or the documentation. The documentation doesn't do a great job of describing the save function on the Ludwig API. So what really happens is that when you call yeah when you call save, then it creates what we call the model directory, which contains the model weights directory. So it's a kind of a two-layer hierarchy that it creates. uh, but the other function, upload to HF hub, it expects a different kind of structure. It expects to be given the experiment directory, not the model directory. So a user that saves something and then expects to be able to uh, ship that to Hugging Face is going to fail, because you need to be aware that the file structure that you get from save is not the same structure that upload to HF hub is expecting. So that was another small patch. It was easy to do because all we needed to do inside upload to HF was to choose the parent directory of the directory that save had created. and that gives you the correct structure. So it's actually implemented a little flexibly to also allow existing code to continue running as is. So what we do inside that, I mean, in that change, is to look at the structure, the file directory structure that has been passed. It tries to guess whether it's been passed an experiment directory or a model directory, and if it was passed a model directory, which is something that it wasn't originally designed to handle, then it essentially picks up the parent of that directory and then proceeds with whatever it was doing anyway. So that seems to work well. Um, so another thing that we found while making that change is that there's a literal string model weights that is used in many different places in the entire code base. So what Alex suggested is that we should define a global. So this new global, which is model weights file name, uh, that's been put in, and that substitutes the string in about 30 plus source files. So this is something that probably people that are already working with existing files will probably run into. So this is something to be a little careful about. The third change was really documentation. There's a place in the documentation where originally the inputs to the LLM are described in a way, or they used to be described in a way that probably gave people the impression that you can only have one column from the data set coming in, and that was wrong. So that was changed, and we now have three new examples also. So there's three new YML files that describe the various different things that you can do. Uh, yeah, so that's it from me, unless there are any questions.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sanjay. Really appreciate it, and also appreciate all the contributions. Like, I think those are like very valuable and also very, hopefully that also give you like a window in Ludwig. It was like a good entry point for then hopefully keeping on contributing even larger scope things. What do you think?
Yes, Piero. But I mean, it all really depends on how much time I can account of
Sure, sure. I mean, I didn't want to
it.
like.
Yeah, but it's potentially very interesting.
Yeah, I think my point being more like if you want to contribute something next, right? Then
Yeah,
now you have more the lay of the land than you had before, right? So,
that's true. That's true. Thanks.
and
Thank
so
you, Sanjay.
please, Alex, I have one more question, but I don't know if the other people have.
No, we have. Please go ahead, Piero.
Yeah, so actually,
I was just going to say that it was a pleasure to work with Sanjay to actually define the approach, and instead of like start and implementing. No, we actually had, I think, like what, Sanjay, close to 200 Slack messages exchanged to figure out the right approach, think it through, run it by the team, and stuff like that.
That's right, Alex. No, it was fun working with you as well. I mean, from my point of view as well. So thank you very much.
So maybe to get back to my question is like one thing that people could do before that was, I think was documented, but was not super clear to most people. And again, people like Jim who have looked at that code know why, but it was not super clear is the fact that from one column you could before derive multiple columns. And then when we introduced the prompt mechanism for LLMs, the system prompt mechanism, then we also made it possible to have one column derived from multiple other columns, like the one that you touched upon, Sanjay. I'm curious how you feel about that right now. Do you think now it's something that is understandable to users with the new change in the documentation and also all the description? Like, do you feel like it's in a good state so that if you were to do that again, now you would be able to understand that, right? Am I understanding correctly?
Well, that's what it seems to me, because this is something that even I had trouble with. I remember when I first started looking at Ludwig, I found that this part of the documentation was a little confusing. And in fact, in one of my earliest comments, I had said that we need to improve the documentation for this part of the work. So, I mean, at least for me, it seems more understandable. But I think we really need to see whether we need to wait a little bit and see if you're getting less a reduced number of
Request.
request for it. Yes, but I noticed that there are questions still appearing. There was one question to do with should they have to use the same prompt for predictions as they had used during training.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know if
So,
that's related to this or not, but there
yeah,
are
so
questions in this area.
let me tell you, Sanjay, also internally at Predibase, this is like an ongoing debate, and I'm on the side of we should make like we have like even the Predibase documentation, basically one paragraph about it. And after reading that paragraph, it's like the question is much more complex and needs much more explanation and detail than that. So I'm strongly proponent of exploding that into something that actually really, really captures all the nuances of it, right? Because it depends
Right.
if there's a chat prompt, if it's not a chat prompt, if there's a system prompt, what if the model was non-fine-tuned models, like non-instruction tuned model, the base model, or if it was an instruction tuned model that already had a prompt. So I think that it's like the matrix of cases is a little bit more complex than it seems at first. And so I think unraveling that, I think, would be very, very valuable in the documentation so that, you're confirming my own feeling that that's like a point of friction, right? So, and also, actually, it's an important point of friction because honestly, if you if you should put the prompt and you don't, or you shouldn't put the prompt and you put it, that completely derails the performance of the model. So it's like it's a simple thing, but changes night and day the performance. So yeah, we should
Okay.
improve that. Thank you for helping us, in that direction already. So.
It's like something that like everybody else, I've also come into sometimes with mistakes, and then intuition was gained. But I feel like, with your contribution, Sanjay, we've made a dent and improvement. If it sounds like we could do more, and at some point probably a blog post explaining these interdependencies, intuition behind it from the perspective of model performance, or an article would probably be helpful to a lot of people, I'm thinking.